Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is just another speed paint of one of my OC's Winter, except this time there's a twist. It's literally just that I'm doing a voiceover, mostly just because I wanted to ramble non-stop about this guy, because I love him. But yeah, I've been meaning to talk about my characters a lot more, but I never really got the opportunity. I figured this video was a good time to talk about it just because this is a video about the character I wanted to talk about, Winter, and it's like a reference sheet. I will be posting about him on my DeviantArt. I'll be writing out a full bio for him on there, but I wanted to also post it on here, especially since I haven't been active lately. I haven't even done a Halloween video, which is really sad. I kind of missed my chance to do it, but I was tired, and then I just kind of things happened, and yeah. In terms of the picture itself, I'm just gonna talk about it for 2 minutes here. This, like I said, is just a little reference picture of him because I kept drawing him inconsistently. I wanted to have an actual proper set design instead of unintentionally changing each time. Overall, this took me 3 hours and a bit. The actual footage itself, what I ended up having to load into Movie Maker, was only 2 hours and a bit, mostly just because I lost the line art footage. Oh yeah, I lost the line art footage, so there's no line art in this one, sorry. Movie Maker decided not to accept the recording, but it's fine, it was only an hour's work. Only took me an hour to do it, it's fine. Only an hour's footage lost. That's how long I spent on that one step, my god, that is so fun. But yeah, so all you're getting is colouring and shading, but I hope you guys are okay with that. So, starting off with basically just the information that's on the sheet. His full name is Winter Kellen. He doesn't have a middle name, that's just his first name and his last name. He's 17, his birthday's the 14th of November. Ooh, I need to draw him that reminds me, I need to draw him a birthday gift. I always forget to celebrate my character's birthdays, and it makes me sad, because I always want to. So, he's gender fluid and pronoun different. If you don't know what gender fluid is, you may as well look it up, because I'm bad at explaining. Basically, his gender changes constantly, so at one point he might be a guy, and another point he might be a girl, or somewhere in between the two, or neither at all, or nothing. If you want a better, more in-depth explanation online, may as well look up gender fluid. I'm not an expert either, since I'm not gender fluid, so he's pronoun different, so use whatever pronouns you want for him. I tend to use he, him, just because, I mean, if I'm talking about him in terms of other characters, sometimes it can get a little confusing if I'm just constantly switching pronouns. You might not know who exactly I'm talking about, but use whatever pronouns you want for him. Sometimes I refer to him as she, her, or they, them. I know one of my friends refers to him almost exclusively as she, her, so. Or you can use, I forgot what they're called, they're neo-pronouns. Any one of them, you can, whatever. He doesn't care, really. He's pretty much chill with anything. He's pansexual, grey romantic. If you don't know what those are, pansexual, the gender of the person doesn't matter at all, but he's grey romantic. So, grey romantic, it can mean a lot of things, but for him it means he does feel romantic attraction, just very occasionally. It's once in a blue moon, but it does happen. In terms of his appearance, he's 5'6", he's pretty muscular, because he does a lot of physical activity. He does martial arts, that's his main way of fighting, is that and fire magic. He's sometimes mistaken for a ghost. This only happened once or twice, but it has happened because he has very, very, very pale skin and very pale blue eyes, and actually his pupils are white because he's it's his great-great-grandmother. I think that's, yes, his great-great-grandmother was a fire spirit, and so some of the weirder traits that he has, his hair colour is not white, a normal red. It's too saturated and dark of a red colour for it to look quite a natural red, but it is. And his pupils are white. Things like that come from the fact that he's not 100% human. Also the fact that fire magic comes a little bit more easily to him. That's just because the spirit that he's descended from was a fire spirit. But like the contrast between like his pale skin, his pale blue eyes, and then his dark red hair, and then his eyelashes, and his like very dark freckles, of which he has like actually millions. Also his hair is often up in a ponytail or a plait. He does that a lot just to keep it out of the way. But in terms of his personality, in short, he's very, very introverted. He doesn't like talking to people that much, and that's mostly just because he's very cautious, and of course he's cautious about like everything, especially since a lot of the time now, especially, he's in danger a lot because he's on like a quest, which is like the whole story. He lives in an original universe of mine, Third Time's the Charm. He's not the main character. The main character is his friend LAKEY, but I'm doing his video first because I drew him first. He's on this quest with LAKEY, and LAKEY's goal is to defeat this lady who's mostly just known as the Empress, who's like the ruler of this kind of evil empire, and he's like helping LAKEY because LAKEY's like his really good friend. But because the quest is like full of danger, because the Fates are basically trying to stop them at every turn, he's had to get used to like having to deal with a lot of danger, and so he's generally very cautious, which is he's also careful when talking to people. He doesn't know, another reason why he doesn't like talking to people is because he doesn't know them, which is obvious, but he doesn't know like what things to discuss with them. You know, what if they're sensitive about this thing? Should I talk to them about this? Or is it okay for me to bring up this? Is that something that will offend them? Because he doesn't know them, so he doesn't know what's okay to talk about, and usually it would be completely fine. And he is getting better at just talking. He went through a period of like a year when he was like 14 to 15 where he basically just didn't talk at all. He was mute, basically. He like barely, literally like 1 or 2 words to people he was very comfortable around. He was that bad. He's not anywhere near as bad as that now. He's getting better, I guess. Because of that, he doesn't have that many friends. One of his only friends is LAKEY, he's the main character, but to those he does call friends, he's very, very loyal to. He's like either barely trusting of a person or like very trusting of a person, and it's things like, that's the way it is with a lot of things for him. It's like from strangers, and like he doesn't like any physical contact at all, but then with LAKEY he's like incredibly affectionate with, and like hugging and holding hands. Like a lot of people think they're together because of that, like in a relationship with, because of how like intimate he is with them, but he isn't, even though he would very much enjoy being in a romantic relationship with LAKEY. That's the thing. Even though he rarely talks and he very rarely expresses his opinions, he is very opinionated. He likes to know all the facts before he forms an opinion, but once he has all the facts and has formed an opinion, he's very stubborn about it. It's not that he's not open-minded about other people's opinions, apart from obvious things like murdering random people, probably not okay. Other than obvious things like morals, he won't like argue with people over them, but it's like if you try to change his mind, he'll be like, no. Moving on from that, in terms of what he likes and dislikes, he likes, I mentioned he's an introvert, so he likes having alone time. He does like talking with friends sometimes, but he does very much appreciate alone time, and also just peace and quiet. He's not a big fan of loud noises and stuff. He likes reading. He likes small fluffy animals, basically cats. He also likes warmth and like heat. He likes really hot weather. He'll basically just, he basically is a cat by this point, because he's like, you know how cats can like lie in the sun for like hours on end, and then like if you try and stroke them they're like 1,000,000 degrees, but somehow they're like fine with it? He's like that. He'll like wrap up in a blanket in the middle of summer and he'll be like completely fine. It's ridiculous. No one knows how he does it. It's just one of his things. He does actually, interestingly enough, enjoy singing, but the thing is he only does it when he's alone, or again, basically only LAKEY and his sister are close enough to be able to like listen to him, because he doesn't like singing in front of other people. He definitely doesn't like talking to people either. Again, One of his biggest fears actually though is water. It's not necessarily that he's scared of drowning, though I guess that's a fear for everyone. It's more just that, again, he likes to like know all the facts, and if you're swimming in water, it's like, can you see to the bottom? He doesn't like not being able to see, that's another thing. He doesn't like having any of his senses messed with, again why he doesn't like loud areas, because he can't like hear clearly. But I guess no one likes that, but again, it's like a really big thing for him. He also doesn't like water because if he does happen to be in danger, well, one, it's difficult to move, and a lot of his thing is like martial arts, like fighting, and two, the sort of magic he uses is fire magic, so like he can't fight if there's water. So in terms of how he ended up on like this quest, first I'll probably need to discuss a little bit about the Fates. They're like an evil empire who basically, this is an oversimplification, basically they take over a lot of places and they're ruled by this empress who most people don't know the name of, but she's known to be a completely ruthless leader, and she was actually the first person chosen to try and take down previous leader, but that didn't work. Well, it did, she killed him, but then she just took over and continued. She figured that becoming the leader was the only way to get people to trust her, since she was originally the first chosen one. And then there was another chosen one who went to defeat her and promptly got tortured and murdered. And then there's a third chosen one, who is Ellery. Third time's the charm is the name of the universe, and because of third times of the charm, I guess. Last two didn't work out too well, but maybe Ellery has a chance, you know? So that isn't exactly a vote of confidence. But one of the places that the Fates took over was actually this small little village very far up north, and actually on a mountain. You can probably imagine it was very cold there. That's important a little bit later, because that village was taken over. Winter's family managed to escape, or at least some of his family managed to escape, but at that time he wasn't even born yet. His mum was actually just pregnant with him. It was coming up to winter, very far up north, up a mountain, so very cold winters, and so when his mum gave birth to him, it was like the middle of winter. And you'll notice I'm saying winter a lot. So like no one thought he'd survive, because obviously very cold, small baby, frostbite, hypothermia, you know, and they had very limited supplies. No one thought he'd survive, but he did, and that's how he got his name, because he managed to survive the winter. He's now called Winter. After running for a very long time, his family ended up really far south from where they began. They ended up in a city called Scorch. Scorch being known for accepting people, especially people running from the Fates, and like welcoming them with open arms. That's like one of their values, I guess. And that's where Winter grew up for most of his life. In fact, his entire life, basically, apart from like the year that his family were on the run. And everything was pretty good when he was like 7. So like when he was pretty young, he met Ellery, who at that point wasn't the chosen one. They grew up together, and then Winter started learning fire magic. You know, things were going okay until he was about 14. And that's when the Fates found Scorch, and there had been attempts in the past to take over Scorch, but it never worked, and this was the closest they'd ever gotten. They managed to get through all of their barriers and actually break into the city itself. Now, Ellery was safe during that whole thing, but Winter actually was just out on the streets at the time. He did manage to defend himself, but he wasn't Of course, it's very difficult to concentrate in a bad situation like that. He lost concentration when using fire magic, and if you do that, you burn your arms. You burn wherever you're making the fire from. He was using his arms, and he ended up getting burns all up his arms, hence these scars. And that's when he decided to go with Ellery on their quest to kill the Empress, because he saw the damage that was done there. And like, of course, his village had already, like, before he was born, the village that his family was from had already been taken over. But this was like more real, because this was a place that he was from. Not originally from, but he had grown up, this was his home, and now he saw it, and bits were ruined and people were dead. And it hit him hard. And also his arms were like basically broken. They weren't broken, but very badly burnt. And oh yeah, that's also where he got most of the scars on his face. Other than the one on his lip, interestingly enough, that was him when he was 6, trying to eat something decorative, and it didn't work, and he cut his lip, and now he still has a scar. But that's his story for another day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see another one of these, I could do another one probably on Ellery, that's who I'm drawing a reference for next. Subscribe if you want to know if that's uploaded. So I'll see you all next time. Bye!